Hi everyone, I'm Emma Delmain. I am interviewing Carly today.
Hiya.
I met Carly at, which school was it? We can name
Alexander McLeod.
Alexander McLeod, which is in...
Abbey Wood.
There we go. I was there to support another parent with another colleague of mine, Tracy, for a meeting, and I saw Carly and her daughter Emmie.
Yeah.
And Emmie was very distressed at the time. She was curled up in a ball on the sofa, and I spoke to Carly, asked if she was autistic, and she is.
Yeah.
And asked what was wrong, and it was, you know, she was unable to go into school. She was finding it very hard to actually go in, and she was crying. And I asked if I could speak to her, and I made her laugh, and she was relaxed. And then the lady from the office came out and threatened her with another teacher coming to get her. And then we went into full meltdown, full panic mode. And what did we do?
Yeah, so we went outside. Emmie ran outside in the end, didn't she?
Yeah.
And you followed her out.
Yeah.
And she was able to talk to you and tell you that she didn't want to go in. And the minute you said to her, well, let Mum take you home.
Yeah.
She was,
totally different child. Yeah. And then we deregistered her that week, didn't we?
Yeah, it took a week. Once I think I was more scared because I didn't know that you could take them out, because all I'd been being told from the school and from the social services was I needed to get her into school.
Even if she's crying, even if she's panicking.
Yeah, and I suppose it went on for about a year. So many different ways we tried. They brought in, I believe it was an educational psychologist who Emmie did not connect with, because the first thing she done was come in and try and talk about how good school is and how she needs to, participate. And Emmie just shut down and wouldn't talk to the lady. She made we had to buy a singing bowl. She said about doing meditation outside the school gates. Emmie was like, on your own. So I'm in front of the car doing the singing bowl.
Oh,
it
no.
still didn't work.
I'm not surprised.
It was play Emmie's favourite song. She then decided she hated that song.
Of course, yeah, because she connected it to trauma.
Yeah, and then the last one that school kept saying this is working was when social services suggested a quiet home.
Oh, wow. Listen to this. Yeah. What does that entail?
So it entails when Emmie refuses to go to school, I take her home. We don't go anywhere. I don't take her out if I need to go to the shops because that's too exciting. I don't put anything on the TV that Emmie would be interested in, and I don't engage in conversation until school time is over. So I don't let her go on a tablet. I don't let her have a phone. She needs to know that education is done at school. I was encouraged by the school as well when we went and had TAP meetings and stuff like that. So I tried because I just didn't know what to do. I was taking my daughter in, kicking and screaming. She was going into panic mode. She was sitting there saying her chest hurt. She was having full panic attacks.
Yeah, they're very painful panic attacks as well.
Yeah, she was so distressed, and people would walk past and say, I feel for you. And I just thought, this is our life forever, and I don't know how I can carry this on. So I tried to do this quiet home thing. And Emmie's always been quite sensory. She would always come and sort of sniff my arm and you smell like mummy, and she would talk to me. Yeah, so she would talk to me and tell me certain things, but all of that stopped.
Yeah, all of it you stopped. Were told to do a planned ignoring, basically.
Yeah, it was like we was in the same room, but we was miles apart. And then even after school time finished...
Well, you were told not to hug her as well, weren't you?
Yeah, no hug, no affection, no nothing.
And that was by social services? Was that Greenwich Social Services?
Yes, yeah, so it was completely like, ignore her, don't engage, don't give her any stimulation. She needs that at school, and so she'll learn. If she doesn't get it at home, she'll want to come to school. That was their idea.
That's really, when you actually think about that, no affection, she can, all of that's lumped in, she can get that at school. What if she'd have been that vulnerable to go to a teacher and wanted a hug, and what if that teacher had taken advantage of that? Yeah. That's terrifying.
Yeah, and it turns out that, now she's out of school, she says to me that when she was able, forced to go into school, she would sit sometimes underneath the table. She's got videos on her phone, so I know it's true. Or she would be on a table outside, and when I asked her what work she was doing, she was given colouring in sheets, or she'd find a bit of blue tack on the wall and play with that. So in the end, it was like, so I'm not allowed to give her any stimulation or education at home, and all they want is a mark. It sort of opened my eyes, because they're not educating her at school either.
No. They just want that attendance mark so that they can get the funding and not get any trouble from the attendance officer.
And sort of after the first week, they were saying how it was working. She'd not gone in any more than she'd been in before. And after the second week, I just completely refused because it spoiled my mental health.
Yeah.
I felt like I'd lost my child.
Yeah.
And I said, I can't do it. And they sort
It's
of
like driving your child away, isn't it?
Yeah.
Turning her away even though she's distressed or just wants affection, wants to have a chat with you.
Yeah, I was losing my child. And I was in tears, and they were saying, but it's working, you just need to stick to it. And I said, no.
But what is it that they wanted to work? Did they want to break her so that she'd end up going in, tail between her legs sort of thing? And
yeah, well, it was breaking me. I phoned my doctor up and asked if I could change my medication because I was in bits. Because every night, you know, she wasn't coming and giving me a hug and saying good night. She wasn't getting in bed with me. And still now, the affection is nowhere near it was.
She's got to regain trust.
Yeah,
but then
she has, yeah.
We did the deregistration letter, got her out. How's she been since?
She's been coming over and talking to me. She's told me a lot of stuff about what happened when she was in school that she didn't tell me at the time. So
Well, she was carried in, one teacher on each arm, one teacher on each leg taking her in, wasn't she?
Yeah. So when I went with the social worker, this was the last week that she was actually in school, we got to the playground and she couldn't go no further. She was on the floor. She was begging me. She was holding on to me saying, please, Mummy, don't go, don't let me. And it was horrible because she was looking me in the eyes, and it's not something she does easily. And they were telling me that I needed to get her off me, so I was trying to release her fingers off of me, and she just kept grabbing me. And they told me that I needed to go and she would be fine because she always is when I go.
She goes into shutdown and masks her ass off as soon as she gets in.
Yeah, I went in the office and I cried, and I was talking to the social worker, and she was saying, oh, you know, I could see that was difficult. And the office ladies were like, you know, she'll be fine now, she'll be fine. I think she's gone in. And Emmie's recently told me that when we left, that was when the teachers grabbed her wrists and they dragged her across the playground into class.
And the teacher, when I came in for the meeting, and the lady came out of the office and said, I'm going to get Mrs...
It was Vanessa, by her first name,
Right, we're going to get Vanessa to take you in. That teacher had grabbed her before, and that's why she went into complete
and
fight
she
or
had got
flight.
other staff members, so it seems quite there's quite a lot of politics in that school. I know a lot of staff have left that didn't agree with certain things around the SEND children. Other teachers, I suppose, feel that they've got to, and she'll call another member of staff and ask them to hold this child the other side. And even the headmaster, Emmie's got a friend, and it was the headmaster that had pulled her into school, and Emmie's told me she's been pulled up the stairs so that her shoes have come off because she's really trying not to go. And it's and I think if I was to do it, I even said to the social worker that day, I said, if a child was crying that much and protesting and saying, please don't send me home, what would you do?
Exactly, you'd think there was abuse happening at home.
Yeah, and I said, and I've got it the other way.
Yeah.
And I feel that I'm forced. No one told me that I was able to
deregister.
Yeah. And I've since found out as well that if they had told me, then they would have had to provide a tutor. And I feel like they forced me until there was no point that...
There's no other option you had.
No, and now it's up to me to try and make sure.
So is your child socially cut off and having no friends? And what's she been doing?
No, she's always been happy to be on her own, but she's joining in the groups. She's happy with that. We go here and she's more than happy. Yeah, she's got a lot of friends, and she's still got the couple of children that were at school still ringing her up, which is why she's finding out that things are still going on. Yeah. So other children are being threatened with suspension if they don't join in PE. I'm going to call your mum. So the little girl that's been diagnosed, that I found out about yesterday, she said she didn't want to go PE, and because she won't. Emmie learnt that you really needed to stand your ground because she's not one to kick doors and love a little girl.
Yeah.
She was told you need to do it, otherwise we're going to phone your mum and you'll be looking at suspension. And she said I had to do it, but there was 5 other children that were allowed to sit out, and it's obviously them children kicked off.
Yeah.
And she didn't, but she's going home and taking it to her mum.
The thing is though, what is it that the schools are doing so wrong that are making the kids not want to go in? That's what I'd like to know. You know, what's causing that terror? I mean, instead of dragging a child in, why aren't the teachers sitting down on the floor or wherever they need to get to this child's level, not force eye contact and say, what can we do differently for you? Because instead of dragging them forcibly into school.
Personally, I really believe that, I guess the school budgets have been cut, and I have seen that school take on more and more SEND children. Some have got severe needs, so some are not walking, they've got a classroom there, And I don't believe there's enough staff that are trained to look after these children.
Yeah.
And they're overlooked. And if they don't,
there's very little training I think it's 1 day's training that schools do.
I have since been told that is the only school. So when children, the apprenticeships like Rosie was, so straight from college, 16-year-olds, when they go to that school as an apprentice, they're being given a one-to-one child.
Oh, with no training?
Yeah. Rosie
That's
was.
dangerous.
And one of the staff members that had left had said to me that she knows no other school that does that. And some of these girls were coming out with black eyes and stuff like that. Rosie's used to it because, you know, she's got siblings as well, and herself, she's neurodiverse, so she was used to it. And she, if anything, she preferred them children. She wanted to go out and run about with them.
Yeah.
But the other poor, you know, they're being thrown into something. And the parents as well, being told your child's given a one-to-one, that would be a feeling of, like, I suppose I'd feel quite comforted by that.
Slight relief, but finding out that the one-to-one's not even trained.
Yeah, they're learning how to do childcare for neurotypical children, and they're 16-year-olds, and they're being put in these positions. And
they're finding out how to do childcare for neurotypical children and giving neurodivergent children with complex needs that they have no training to handle.
Yeah.
And that's Alexander McLeod.
Yeah, yeah. And so the school are getting more money to have these neurodiverse children. And I know for a fact that money is not going back into the neurodiverse children. It's being used for the whole
Did you
school.
ask about getting an EHCP when you were in there, by the way?
Yeah, I did.
What did they say?
I asked 2 years ago, and I was told that Emmie wouldn't get one because she doesn't attend enough. And I kept asking, and they finally said to me, once I reported myself again to social services, thinking they can help me. So on the last tack, they said that they were going to do it. Emmie told me that she was asked some questions about school, what she likes at school, and she told them straight that she hated school, she didn't want to be there. So I know some work was done. I filled out a form, and when we left, I asked them to send what little they had, and we would add to it. And they've since refused and said they didn't have much, so they're not going to continue it.
And that's for the HCP?
Yeah, so I have to start again.
That's a grudge, that is not helping with that.
No. And an actual staff member said to me, do you feel that, so an ex-staff member, do I feel that they were almost being off with me because of Teddy?
Your older son?
Yeah, because he was so difficult there. It was, and she said, because I just get the feeling
But he was having difficulties there.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, he was. He was stood in the rain. I remember I got a phone call because they asked him to move for a classroom. He was only comfortable in one classroom.
Yeah.
They asked him to move. They told him there was no staff. They got him out of the classroom. He stood in the playground, and I got a call from the headmaster who said, it's been pouring down with rain for 2 hours. We thought he would move by now, but he's soaked through. And he's still not moving, so can you come and get him?
They should have phoned you straight away when he didn't want to go in.
Yeah. So there was so much, and I look back now, and it's like, I feel guilty because I think I could have helped.
But you didn't know.
Teddy, no.
You didn't know.
No.
And this is the thing: parents aren't told their rights. Under Section 78.6 of the Education Act, you're allowed to home educate your son child. At the moment, they're trying to push a bill through, the children's bill. Do look into it; it's terrifying. That if there's social services involvement with that child, and that could be because of self-injuring, it could be because of bullying, anxiety, suicidal attempts.
Yeah,
you know.
Emmie did. Emmie did while she was at school.
Really?
Yeah. She was cutting herself. She'd run out in front of cars. She said she didn't want to be here. There was a lot going on, and still every so often. So when we bring up school, or social services bring up school because they were saying they were worried she's not following the curriculum, we then found out that Emmie had started to use aerosols. She's got hold of aerosols, and she said
to inhale.
Yeah, she's 9 years old,
yeah.
But she said she knew that it could be dangerous, but she didn't care. She doesn't want to be forced back to school.
Yeah, and she won't be.
No.
But social services are now looking into they're now looking into making it that you can't deregister your child if there's social services involvement, and a lot of those children are the children that need the help the most, that don't need to be in school because of the trauma that they're suffering. So
if Emmie was still at school, I'm not sure how much longer I would have still had her. Yeah, and that's hard, because if you wasn't there that day, I would have still been taking her in. I don't want to cry.
No, don't cry. I felt like crying. I felt like crying when I saw how distressed she was that day, and
And that was nowhere near. They've had times so they tried to get me to not bring her into the office. Emmie, when we would go in, she would go in the office. They said to me, because it was like she was fighting for her life, and there would be, so she never, at home she would say things like, "Oh, fudge," and I thought it was quite cute. I didn't even know she knew how to swear. Some of the things, it was like she was possessed, that would come out of her mouth. When they were trying to get her to go in, they told me that it wasn't fair on the other parents that were coming to the office. They didn't want them to hear that about the school. And so they asked me if I could take her around another way.
I see.
But yeah.
That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so if anyone does need advice about home education, please contact AIM. There's Not Finding School, which is a big Facebook group. There's IPSY. There's so many places you can contact for advice. You don't need to put your child through that. That's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carly.
No, thank you.